3. Lying on the floor on her back, Rachel considers the letter she has just written to her brother. Tomorrow she'll mail it. He ought to have it 2 or 3 days after that. And for a week or two, maybe as much as a month, she knows herself, she'll come home from school every day hoping there's a letter for her from Jeremy. She ought to know better. She does, but she can't help hoping. Her total from Jeremy mail consists of a handful of laconic postcards and less than a handful of letters. 3, to be exact, each one coming roughly 3 years apart. The first one arrived when Rachel was 8 years old, as if Jeremy woke up one morning in Boston, remembered he had a sister, and wanted to make sure she remembered him. After that, silence again until she was 11. He was in San Francisco then. Her third, latest letter from Jeremy is a mere 6 months old and postmarked New Orleans. There are times when Jeremy's silence preys on Rachel, but mostly she forgives him everything. She thinks of him as the most, maybe the only, interesting person in the family. Jeremy Cooper, brilliant misfit.
Jeremy's got it,
her brother Phil told her the last time he visited.
Do you know, Rachel, when that boy graduated high school, which he did in 3 years, his SATs were the highest of any on record.
Ma said that a lot of colleges wanted him.
Right. Harvard, Yale, and Swarthmore, to name a few.
Why did he go to Reed?
That's what we all said. Not that it's not a good college, but Harvard.
Phil pulled at his soft, fat cheeks.
He wouldn't have to be a waiter right now if he'd graduated from Harvard.
Well, knowing Jeremy, he might have ended up being the best educated waiter in the United States. Jeremy had stayed only a year in college, then dropped out. A year after that, he was in Vietnam. He was there for 3 years.
I never talked about it,
Rachel's father says when the subject of Jeremy comes up, which is not too often since it's an occasion of sadness for both of Rachel's parents.
All right, when he came home, he needed to adjust from being in a war, Shirley says. How long does it take to adjust? A year, 2 years, even 4, that I could understand. But the boy has never adjusted. What that terrible war did to him, I don't know.
The boy is now 35 years old. He's had countless jobs, in all of which he performed brilliantly for 6 months to a year, then did something either stupid or perverse, which resulted in him being chased, demoted, or fired. Chastised, demoted, or fired. Truly, Rachel hardly knows him, since he was already on his way to Vietnam when she was born. She knows her oldest brother, Phil, better. Even though he lives all the way across the country in Spokane, Washington, with his family, Phil is a lot more knowable. He keeps in touch. He calls every month, and every couple of years they all come east to visit. In that time, there are photos, snapshots that Marilyn takes of the kids and Philip, and New Year's Day, there's always a formal group picture, a glossy 8x10, and several smaller prints of Phil, Marilyn, MB, and Taylor sitting in a photo studio with a big Happy New Year's Day, our wonderful family, written across the bottom. Phil is so much like a younger version of her father that when he visits, Rachel always finds herself hopelessly loving him. Like her father, he is soft and fat and really good to everyone. He likes to send their mother presents, fruit baskets on her birthday, a surprise gift like a bouquet or a scarf in the middle of the year, and a hefty check on her anniversary. On her parents' last anniversary in March, Rachel took the picture that is now on her wall. In it, Manny and Shirley are sitting side by side on the couch, holding hands. The drizzle in Manny's hair doesn't show. Shirley is wearing red pants, Manny a yellow shirt. They both look as relaxed as if they'd just come back from a month's vacation in the sun. Manny and Shirley always take an excellent picture. So does Jeremy. Rachel rolls over and studies the latest photo of Jeremy. Her walls are covered with newspaper clippings, drawings, pictures of musicians and writers, and family snapshots. Every year when Phil's family picture arrives, Rachel can see that her niece, MB, is taller, her nephew, Taylor, is bigger, and her brother, Phil, looks fatter and more uncomfortable. But Jeremy's snapshots, which arrive with about the same frequency as his letters, show him almost unchanged. 12 years ago, he had long hair and a shaggy beard. He sported a headband, wore jeans, and a fatigue jacket. This year, he has long hair, a shaggy beard, and the headband is gone, but the jeans are still present. The only variation on the theme has been wherever the photo is taken, and whoever he's got his arm around, whoever is his current wife or love. And for the past year and a half, it's been New Orleans and Laurel.
Stop button.
Yes?
Duration 6 minutes. Stop duration. New card overlay. New recording 7. Card overlay. Half screen. Dimmed. Done. Pause button.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry? Oh. Whoever he's got his arm around. And whoever is his current wife or love. For about the past year and a half, it's been New Orleans and Laurel. Rachel unfolds her letter to Jeremy and rereads it. It's odd, but when she writes to Jeremy, she hardly ever anguishes the way she does when she writes in her journal. She writes what pops into her head. Maybe it's just because Jeremy never answers, so she feels free. She pushes a pair of sneakers out of the way, spreads out the letter, and adds a few more lines. P.S. Jerms, I read that New Orleans is called the City of Fun. Is it true that no people in the entire world know how to have just as much fun as New Orleansites? Quick! Rush me your answer. What will he think when he reads this letter? She pictures him standing by a wrought iron fence in front of a pink house fronted by a tiny balcony with immense red flowers creeping all over it. She tries to peer through the fog in which Jeremy appears in her mind to see what the expression is on his face. Thoughtful? Impatient? Or is he laughing at her? No, he's frowning. He's reading about the way she screamed at Shirley and Manny. Poor Shirley and Manny. Remorse covers Rachel. She scrambles to her feet and goes downstairs. Her parents are in the living room, watching TV. Her mother is knitting. Ma? Rachel says. Shirley looks up. Rachel can see in the softness of her mouth that she is still feeling hurt. Sorry, Rachel says. It sounds grudging. She wants to be kinder, more generous, but more lavish with her apologies, but everything dies in her throat. Oh, that's all right, her mother says. It doesn't sound all right. Rachel lingers in the doorway. What are you knitting? A scarf for Grandpa Izzy, if he'll wear it. Shirley gives her a tiny, quivery smile, and Rachel crosses to her, bends, and kisses her quickly on the cheek. For me? Manny says. Don't I get something? Rachel kisses him on the cheek, too. Then they both smile at her, and she is free again. Helena, hi. What's up? Rachel is sitting in the tiny, stifling closet under the stairs with the phone in her lap. She thought she'd had so much to say, but now that she's on the phone with Helena, she doesn't think she'll even mention the fight with her parents. Helena wouldn't understand. Not that she doesn't get exasperated with her parents, but she doesn't go crazy like Rachel. Not to worry. If Rachel has nothing to say right now, Helena can always talk about theater club or the ongoing drama with her relationship with Mikey Sheds. Rachel once read that everyone has a counterpart in the animal world. If true, Helena looks like an amiable cat, round-faced and unflappable, while Mikey is another kind of cat, one of those young, handsome lions that you always see on the nature shows, all blonde manes and big self-satisfied roars. When Helena and Mikey got together last summer, it was like something out of a movie. Mikey was a lifeguard at the Indian Lake State Park. Helena was at the lake with her family.
I was just fooling around on the rubber raft with my little sister, she told Rachel. Then Tina fell off the raft and panicked. She came up screaming, and Mikey practically flew off the guard tower. He didn't jump off, did he? Rachel asked. No, but the way he came down those stairs, he might as well have. He was definitely out to rescue Tina. Well, what did you do? Rachel said. Let Tina drown so Mikey could rescue her?
Helena slapped Rachel's arm.
Of course. Okay. I had her up and out of the water by the time he arrived, but still, he was wonderful.
Helena goes up and down in her feelings about Mikey. Sometimes everything he says, everything he does is perfect, beyond reproach. Other times, Helena's full of doubts, even wants advice from Rachel. How can she get Mikey to tell her what he's feeling? Does Rachel think Mikey really loves her? Rachel doesn't want to let Helena down, but advice from her? She's read plenty, but knows nothing firsthand. She usually falls back on a justified, "What do you think, Helena?" This works surprisingly well. Helena always has something to say, and why not? She ought to know something by now. She has had a boyfriend every year since she was in the 1st grade. What must that be like? Rachel wonders. One year, in 5th grade, for 2 weeks, Rachel had a boyfriend, Thomas Leander. He showed up at her house every morning and walked her to school. Then he moved away. In some part of her heart, Rachel still mourns the loss of Thomas Leander. She leans her head against the slanted ceiling and listens to Helena. Maybe next time Rachel will talk and Helena will listen. Somehow they almost always manage to balance each other. It's been this way, more or less, since that day 2 years ago when Helena linked her arm with Rachel's and said, "Let's eat lunch together." "No," Rachel said. "You don't have to do that." They were on their way out of the library. It was after Wilda Sikora spoke to their class. Rachel's face was still burning. 10 minutes earlier, when it was time for questions, she had been the first one on her feet. Miss Sikora!" Saying "Miss" had been her mistake. "Miss Sikora, in your opinion, is it possible for someone to break into writing, or do you need to be experienced?" That was her second mistake. The word "experienced" sent a wave of laughter sweeping over the room. It wasn't the first time her classmates had laughed at Rachel, but knowing it didn't make it any easier to bear. Rachel can't remember any longer what she did, if she sat down or continued standing up. As Wilda Sikora answered her question, what she does remember, as vividly as if it were happening all over again, this moment, was the pain in her stomach. The burning in her cheeks, they hurt, and the mocking laughter. Wilda Sikora had paid no attention to that laughter, had looked only at Rachel and answered the question seriously and carefully, but Rachel's heart had been beating so ferociously she hardly heard the author. It was when she was on her way out of the library that Helena Minor caught up with her. "Rachel, I really liked your question. Most of the other questions were so dumb. Did you hear Randy Burnett ask her how much money she made?" Rachel had smiled politely. She knew Helena from some of her classes, a pretty, laughing girl who had always been carelessly friendly. "Hi," she'd say, passing Rachel in the hall. That same "hi" she gave everyone. But now she took Rachel's arm. "Let's eat lunch together." "No," Rachel said, stiffening. She read Helena's sudden interest in her as pity. "Oh, come on," Helena said, not at all put off. "We can talk." She held Rachel's arm firmly. Over the sloppy Joe in the cafeteria, Rachel made an effort to set the record straight. "Look, this is very nice of you, but I know you just feel sorry for me because everybody laughed. Well, you don't have to. I'm fine." "Sorry for you?" Helena shook her head. "No, that's not why She broke off, looked straight at Rachel and said, "Well, honestly, a little bit, that is true." Rachel concentrated on her food. Helena's honesty hurt, but Rachel preferred it to hypocrisy. "Anyway," Helena said, "I did like your question. You're different. I want to know you. That's also the truth. So I just decided today was the day." Rachel looked up. Unexpectedly, her throat tightened. "Well, thanks then." She started to enjoy the lunch, sitting with Helena, laughing, finally. After that day, they were friendly. They did things together now and then. Shopped, went to the movies, but they weren't yet real friends. They were still a little bit scratchy with each other. They seemed to do a little dance around each other, moving toward one another, then backing off. Maybe Helena had rushed into this too fast. Rachel thought. Or maybe it was her fault, because she was a little put off by Helena's attempts to improve her. Helena wanted Rachel to wear makeup, smile more, not to show her brains off so obviously. "I don't like makeup. I smile enough. What can I do about my brains?" Rachel said. She was stubborn. "You can flirt a little. It won't kill you." "You mean act dumb for a boy?" "Helena, that's depressing." "Why? You know you're smart. That's what matters. Flirting just makes boys feel better." "What's the matter with them? They don't have to feel better by my pretending that I'm dumber than they are." "It's just one of those things, Rachel." "No, forget it." "Do you have to get that look on your face?" "What look?" "That look." "The look." Helena did her face, lowering her brows, splitting her eyes. "This is you when you're annoyed." "Oh, thank you. Something like a cross between a chimpanzee and a mad dog." Oddly enough, the catalyst for sealing their friendship had been Rachel's Uncle Leonard, whom Rachel had never even met. Uncle Leonard was her mother's brother. He lived in London, England, and he was an actor. Rachel happened to mention this one day in connection with Helena's interest in acting. Helena was fascinated, went home with Rachel to look at the picture album, to see Leonard's picture, a short, gray-bearded man with the same bulging eyes as Rachel's mother. "How lucky that he's your uncle," Helena said. She stayed to talk, stayed to supper, stayed overnight. "I like your room," she said when they went upstairs. A winning remark. Rachel's room is her cave, her sanctuary, her beloved refuge. Presumably, like most babies, she began her life sleeping in a crib, but she cannot remember a time before the maple four-poster bed, with its worn pink and green quilt. There, to one side, is the sagging shelf with all her best childhood books. Near it, the gimpy rocking chair, and across from it, the scratched old bureau. The walls are painted a soft blue. White curtains hang on the windows. Her room, always here, always waiting for her. When she's upset, crazy, morose, frantic, she comes here. Shut the door, the room says reassuringly. Crawl under the quilt with a book. The bed invites. Forget everything, the walls say soothingly. That bed is great, Helena has said. You sure you want to give it to me? Positive, Rachel said, unfolding the rollaway cot. They talked for hours that night, woke up at the same moment the next morning, and brushed their teeth side by side in the bathroom. Helena borrowed a sweater, a scarf, and a bracelet from Rachel, and they went to school together. Friends from that day, friends forever after. And still such unlikely friends. Rachel, small, dark, brooding, taking everything to heart, everything too seriously. Helena, large, beautiful, bouncing with charm. Maybe it's just that old thing of opposites attracting. Rachel, Helena says now. I've been thinking about something. The way Helena says this, with a little sweet drawl, alerts Rachel to the fact that Helena's about to switch into her missionary mode, her let's improve Rachel mode. Helena, I'm not going to wear eyeshadow, Rachel says firmly. It makes me look as if someone's punched me out. Rachel, I've given up on that. What I don't understand is why you don't have a boyfriend. Oh, that. Now, come on. You know you'd like a boyfriend. You can't pretend with me. Helena, I can't get one just by wanting one. That's exactly what I was thinking about. We should do something about this situation, Rachel. No, we shouldn't. Don't be difficult. I am difficult. Don't you know that by now? Anyway, I don't want a boyfriend just to say I have one like everyone else. And something else. Maybe you can't miss what you haven't had. Well, haven't you ever had a boyfriend? Please, Helena, this is painful. Do you want me to tell you about 5th grade and Thomas Leander again? Helena laughs. Sure. Helena, I thought you were a nice person. I'm not telling you that stuff again. You get your kicks someplace else. Now she has never had a real boyfriend. And if you don't count 6 kisses given to her by Runny Kevin Wortheme behind the smelly shower rooms at day camp, Rachel doesn't. Or her parents, or the post office, or Spin the Bottle, Rachel doesn't. She'd never have been kissed either. She would like to have experienced this, at least before her 16th birthday next April, or else she would have liked to go for her 17th. That begins to seem awfully old for a first kiss. That was chapter 3. Let me know if you guys could tell the difference between the voices I chose for Helena and Rachel. I'm not really great at making different voices, so just let me know in the comments if there's something,